Hi everybody! Welcome back to Story Reckless. I'm Nathan, I'm the DM here, and I use he, him pronouns. And tonight is, we normally play D&D, we're an actual play live stream, but tonight we're going to just be talking about D&D and our previous episodes. So if you've never watched this show before, it's just kind of a weird one to join in on, but hey, stick around. We usually talk about all kinds of random bullshit, and it's fun.
Sailor Moon,
yes.
Sailor Moon
yes.
always comes up.
Sailor Moon comes up very frequently. All right, well, with that, let's introduce the cast here, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Claire, they, them. I play Kidam, who is a half-elf grave cleric. Yeah.
Cool. My name is Olive. I use she and they pronouns. I play Calliope, who is an Air Genasi old lady and artificer. And apparently, because I love the action economy, I also play two companions, Big Dummy and Little Dummy. Various artificer class features, aka characters in their own right.
Amazing.
Hi, I'm Enyo, they, them, and I'm playing Pip, a charlatan satyr alchemist, not an artificer, but an artificer, because I pronounce that very differently from Olive and it keeps bugging me. And I don't know if it's if there's a right way to say it, but I'm just gonna go with potato, artificer, artificer.
Yeah, I don't know either, yeah.
Yeah, I also had a homunculus with Dr. Gilder.
Dr. Gilder.
That reminds me, I meant to tell you, I could just say it on here. One of our viewers, who are they in chat? Oh no, I forget their name in chat. But one of our viewers messaged me privately and told me how sad they were about Dr. Gilder passing.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I mean, he's a
Bless
homunculus.
you.
I can bring him back, but he won't be quite the same.
Yeah.
He is the doctor.
He is the doctor.
He'll have to go to med school all over again.
Oh my god.
Oh, maybe that's a good point. Ooh, I'm writing this question down.
He can ride with me.
Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go for it. Oh yeah, and by the way,
next?
if anybody's watching in chat, feel free to drop questions and we'll answer them.
Oh yeah. So Enyo, what's the next iteration of the Doctor gonna be? Like we saw Little Dummy go from being like a mannequin sort of situation to like a sock puppet monkey.
Sock Muppet.
Sock Muppet.
I think Dr. Gilder is, before he was like a real gold coin, and now I think he's going to be the I have a question. So, if I were to use the soul coin.
I was about to say that.
Oh, I'm into this.
He would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, we can make that work.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to work with you away from our other two players here. Which we do need to do, by the way. Anyway, we need to actually have a meeting together. Anyways, but yeah, I'd be willing to work with you to work out some tweaks to your homunculus if you use the soul coin.
Yeah, it seems like a very stupid, risky thing to do, so I think Pip would do it.
I love it. I think that is great.
It's the Pinocchio thing, except only instead of the puppet becoming a ensouled being, you have the pocket change.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Or pocket change with the human soul.
Actually, yeah. So wait, does that answer the question? If you would use the soul coin, but is there anything else you would imagine about the next iteration of Dr. Gilder? Would he have a new title? Would he have a new profession?
Like a cool eye patch, maybe?
I think he would still be doctor, but it would be or you know what? I think Gilder
MD
Esquire.
or PhD Esquire.
Because he's helped me with those contracts.
Yeah,
He's earned
absolutely.
it.
Yes, well, with that, I do want to briefly mention, we're mainly going to be talking about this previous arc that we just did, Elturel Has Fallen, where we followed our characters down into Avernus and running about Elturel floating above the Avernan wasteland. Dr. Gilder as a soul coin sounds amazing. Why don't we do another question here? I'm going to ask Claire a question next. Claire, how close are we how close do you think we are to seeing Kadam saying, these devils are making some good points. They are fighting for the greater good. Guess I'll join them.
There's a ways to go still.
Uh-huh.
There's the whole murdering thousands of people and the whole taking their souls without consent. And then also just like the Kadam was raised in an anti-devil society, and it will take some, internal work to overcome that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think Kadam, this might be presuming too much, but do you think Kadam has any, thoughts of, what if I could guide them down a different path or something? No? Nothing like that?
I think Kadam thinks they don't have enough information yet.
Mm-hmm.
They have no understanding of devil or demon culture.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know... They don't have a good sense as to, how much of this is culture and how much of this is, biology.
Mm-hmm.
It's rearranging.
Yeah. It's possible. It's not going to happen soon, if at all, is what I'm going to say.
What about for the other... go for it. And
I was just going to say that I sort of have a follow-up question, because you said Kadam is not okay with the devils taking people's souls without their consent. How do they feel about devils taking people's souls after they've literally signed a contract stipulating it? Does that still fall into pressure?
Yeah, if someone enters into a contract with a devil, fully knowing what they are doing and what they are agreeing to, in Kadam's opinion, that's not fantastic, but that's okay. What happened with Elturel is absolutely wrong. Those people did not know what they were getting into. They did not consent to having their souls and bodies dragged down into hell to fight the Blood War. That's just wrong.
Okay, so it's not necessarily no strong moral outrage that you're giving away your soul, and it's your soul, your choice kind of thing.
Yeah, it's yours to do with what you will.
Okay.
So would Kadam...
You can make bad decisions with your soul.
So would Kadam have been okay with that baker who was about to sell his soul for some food?
Kadam would not have blamed him.
Yeah. Awesome. Unless somebody else wants to jump in on a question, I was going to move on to Olive and ask you a question.
Yeah.
Olive, I'm just going to start with the first one here. How did you come up with Calliope? I don't know if we've ever discussed this on stream. And then, there's some sub-questions to this, why an artificer, and why did you decide to make her an old lady? But yeah, if you want to tell us about that, I would love to hear it.
And you're smiling. Do you want to tell the class how I came up with Calliope? To be clear, I've never told, I don't think, you the story, have I?
I don't think so.
I'm sure you know.
I know that roughly it has something to do with Lancer, but that's about it.
I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Lancer and action economy?
Okay, so for the viewers, I've been spending a lot of my life on this other TTRPG system called Lancer. I've been making a video game adaptation of it, so like I'm just Lancer brain pilled. And for just like kicks, I guess, I was like, oh, can I build like a Lancer character in like the D&D setting? Like, how would I do that? Well, mechanically, I guess like it would be like with a mount. I'd want to like mount up on something, but like horses aren't really good. Or maybe like something to do with artificers. Oh, what? I could mount the steel defender. That means I need to be like a small character, because like small characters can like mount medium ones. And like mechanically, it just kind of like fell out of that, and I just had this as like an alternate character in my back pocket. Genasi, because in Clash's alternate rules, Genasi can like be small. It was either that or like some sort of gnome. And I ended up being like, since Genasi can kind of show up in any society or like culture, if they're like kind of influenced by raw like elemental magic, I was like, oh, she'll be like, her parents will be gnomes. Yeah, so a lot of it was just kind of like mechanically based. And then I think we needed an alternate character on short notice, and she was the one that I was like excited about at the time. Also in Lancer, you get 2 actions per turn and can overcharge to get another action at a cost. And I missed that desperately. So I just, yeah,
You just need
have broken
to-
the action economy a little bit.
You just need to dip into Rogue and get that bonus action.
Or fighter and get action surge.
There you go.
Yeah. So that'd be like overcharging kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Rogue though, artificer dipping into Rogue. What's that like?
What's
I don't know.
that like? Yeah.
And then for the
Who
old
knows?
lady,
Yeah, I was gonna
part of
ask the
it?
old lady.
I have anxieties about growing old. I think like I had recently had a conversation with my mom about like being trans and stuff, and she like said something about like, oh, like you're spending like a lot of like energy on being like young and beautiful, but like that all fades, and I'm just like, I don't care. I'm gonna be like a cool old person, and like I don't remember the like specifics of that conversation, but like being rad old people was on my mind. So like some of that's like just like playing through that anxiety / like trying to like assert what my future is gonna be.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense.
And plus, like also, I think this came up in another an earlier Q&A where we were talking about making characters. It's like, okay, like for the next character, obviously I can't have like a repeat of a previous like race / class. I mean, like you can, but
yeah,
I feel like I need to make shifts every time. And I was like, okay, well, like how old do I want to be? Well, we can do something. I want to like move to a different area and like explore what that will be like. And so just kind of like a lot of things lined up for that.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I feel like a part of your real world life coming into the character like that happens so frequently, and it's also just really powerful tool to, especially with TTRPGs. It's like so, I don't know, for me at least, it's like really freeing and nice to have that freedom to just be like, I'm gonna lean into this little detail of my life and really lean into it and explore it, and it's just really lovely. So yeah, totally.
Do you get to do that with NPCs as much?
Yeah, actually going to this actually connected to you, Olive. So maybe I'll ask you this question as well, but the character of Petra, the kind of, I don't know, the voice, some of the mannerisms, the look is kind of an amalgamation of some people in my life that I've been trying to focus on when playing Petra. So and one of which was my grandmother. So I don't know, like something about thinking about her is an interesting experience when playing them. But they aren't just my grandmother. They are a few other people as well. But that, I don't know. I'm not necessarily like exploring something specific about my grandmother, but it's a interesting feeling when I embody them and I start playing them, that every once in a while, like, her memory comes into view when channeling that character, and it feels nice. And like same with like Ida, that was her name, right? Yeah, sorry. Crack Spine. No, not Ida. No.
Oh,
sorry.
Disa.
Sorry, I was getting. There's so many NPCs, so forgive me for mixing names up. Sorry, Disa. Disa is based off another grandmother. Disa is based off of my best friends growing up. There were two brothers, and their grandmother is essentially Disa, but Disa's way more hardcore than she was. She was very much like a very sweet grandmother. But yeah, I guess those are like people in my life, so it's not quite the same in terms of like, it's not like something I'm anxious about. But if I were to, I'll wrap this up shortly here, but something that when I very, very first started playing D&D, my very first character was an exercise in, as I started to play them, I felt myself falling into Nathan. I felt myself falling into the things that Nathan does, and that Nathan is kind of habits that I have that I would like to change, and things that I get insecure about. And as I started playing this character more, I was seeing that and realizing that, and I was able to acknowledge that and then push myself to go in the opposite direction and to be assertive and try to be like a leader and try to like make decisions and not like force them on people, but to be very clear and direct and be like, I think, or you know, like, let's do this. Does anybody disagree? Like, you know, still keep an open dialogue, but still trying to be like more assertive and like a leader. And I just was so uncomfortable with doing that. And Zog allowed me to start exercising that, and also to stand up to things that I thought were wrong. Because with Zog, the very first time I played Zog, I literally had on my first game session ever with Zog, something happened where I felt entirely powerless. I watched an NPC die, and as a result of the other players killing this NPC, and I was trying to stop them from doing it, but I couldn't because I was powerless. I didn't have any weapons, and didn't have any armor, like due to the circumstances of the situation. So I literally felt powerless. They wanted to kill this NPC. I didn't. They killed them anyways. I was so torn up about it. It stuck with me that entire week. I went home. I could barely sleep. I had to talk with my now wife about it. I was talking with my roommate about it. Like, it was just tearing me apart. And I was like, this game's fucking incredible. I need to keep playing this game. I can't believe that happened. So, anyways, yeah, somebody else take over.
Going back to Petra.
Yeah.
They are the NPC that has had the most impact on me, Claire, in this chapter. I mean, even though they've had so little screen time, their curiosity and compassion and delight in the world, combined with this kind of undercurrent of calm, is both really refreshing and, I mean, I've told all of this, but Kidam fell in love with Petra. Like, actually it wasn't like it was no, it was pretty much love at first sight of like this person is magnificent.
I think Calliope, if I was going to describe like her relationship with Petra, or like kind of like the emotional core of it, is I think she feels like the sea just lapping at like the cliffs of Petra, of just being like, this person is just immense and immovable. And like all I can do is like hang out and like run up against them every now and again. And like doesn't really know what to do with them, but also loves being around them. Yeah, I think Nathan, your portrayal of Petra has been magnificent. Um, and just like the fact that Petra exists informs like a lot of how Calliope interacts with the city, and like that's where a lot of like the love for the city that Calliope has kind of comes from.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I also thank you, Olive, for being the like initial inception of that character, of like
Yeah.
of bringing that character forward to me as an NPC that was a part of your life, that then and then allowing me to have fun with it and bring life to the character.
I think the initial kind of like seed for it was I recently visited, or at that point I had recently visited my sister and her husband in New York. And her husband goes and just like sits on park benches and like does the kind of like humans of New York thing and just like strikes up conversations with people and was like telling me about that. And just like all sorts of like interesting characters. And like that's what I think planted the seed of it for me. And the name Petra, I think actually comes from an old Ender's Game book. Where there was kind of like a side character. I forget who it was exactly, but like I have positive emotions about whoever this character was. And I think it was kind of like a like enmeshed in society, but like unseen sort of character. I think like it was in the Bean, like Shadow. Let me see.
Oh yeah, because I think the Bean stuff was all like on Earth, right? Yeah.
Oh no, Petra was some other student.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I thought Petra was just another one of the team captains or something.
Yeah, I guess so. Some random. Well, that's where the name Petra became a possible name for me, I guess.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions I was wondering, like how you came up with them. And I feel like I think we had a conversation about Petra. I don't think it like a verbal conversation, because I remember talking with you about Glim and Petra, because because we knew we were going to Elturel, and I wanted to work with you on like getting some strong roots for you in Elturel. And I remember it was a conversation where you told me about Petra, and I remember you telling me like Petra was somebody that Calliope would go and meet in the park and play like dragon chess with, and would have conversations with. And you told me like kind of the rough idea of like their outlook on life and kind of how they operated within the city. So to kind of reiterate, so like some of that inspiration came from talking with your was it your sister's brother? Yeah, your brother-in-law. Yeah, your brother-in-law, and then this character from Ender's Game, which was a captain from Ender's Game.
I guess that was just the name.
For the name, yeah.
Yeah.
But I loved what you said though about the sea lapping against the cliffs, and Petra feeling like an immovable kind of, I don't know, an anchor almost.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, also Petra, anchor, Earth, something there.
Well, awesome. I have enjoyed playing them, and I'm really thankful that you brought them to all of us. So,
feel like that's one of the really big differences between Calliope and Pip, uh, is that Pip does not have that kind of anchor and doesn't have hasn't had anybody to steer her away from. Like, you have all of this excess energy and ideas, and maybe in here is a place to put those things.
Yeah, just Pip being guided by impulse.
It's just pure impulse, pure id, and the
Win and
closest
wins.
thing, yeah, that she's ever had to an anchor right now is like Kid Dom, and I mean, and the group.
Yeah. Well,
We're gonna sit down and have a talk about reading people's thoughts here at some point because Kadam finally connected the dots.
I do, Enyo, I want to, maybe next week, but I want to schedule time with you to have a similar conversation I had with Olive, because the next, to give a little teaser, the next arc has some potential for some strong Pip backstory threads to emerge. So
I mean, you're dropping what's her face's name,
I
just
know.
like confetti.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I figure I made a deal with the devil. I'm gonna leverage the hell out of it.
Quite literally.
Amazing.
Oh my god, the fact that you were able to like use that second deal with that imp to like partially like defuse the first one was genius.
See, I didn't need Flash of Genius. I just needed a couple extra levels in Rogue.
So silly. Oh, all of those little spine devils flying away with that one holding the soul coin.
Yep.
Anyways.
I bet 2 will make it down there.
Yeah, actually, on that note, Enyo, I think this is a just good, like, general question I would be curious to hear. I'm sure Olive and Claire would. What has your experience been like joining Story Reckless?
It's been almost a year.
Yeah.
What expectations
Oh
did you have, and how have they been met, exceeded, or not?
Yeah.
Well, I feel kind of bad at saying this now, but I was like, I don't really need to make a combat character, right? And so I just started with narrative, and I went exactly the opposite route of Olive, thinking like, this would be really fun. This is a good utility spell. Oh yeah, I can think of all the cons I would pull off with this. And then I was like, level 6 alchemist. That sounds good. Snake oil. And then combat happened, and I was like, oh shit, this is real. Oh my god, why did I think that this was just gonna be like, yeah, I'm running narrative?
Yeah,
Focus.
maybe that was something a misstep on my part of not clearly communicating that I do tend to run very. I don't know. I run tactical and like. I go for the kill.
The thing is that I had seen some of your combats before, and
Yeah.
I just thought like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I you did kind of come in like because I think like wasn't your first. I mean, it wasn't your first combat, but like very quickly, like this first or second combat was the one where we thought everybody was gonna die. Where it was just like,
Yeah.
I think that was the first one.
The first dungeon. Like that was the
Yeah.
first
Dungeon,
couple
yeah.
of episodes at least.
How many episodes did it take us to get out of that bathhouse?
oh my
Like,
god.
I thought that was
Like
gonna be
6.
just one
Yeah.
episode.
I was
yeah.
back from my baby by the time to help you guys.
Yeah, we had to
Yeah,
have
we were like, thank
Kadam
God
like
we have a
wander
cleric now.
down. Yeah.
And thinking about utility spells, like I feel like that was really visible when like the first spell that you cast was like the purified food or water on the sewage.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a little 10-foot radius, like here's
You know what? I thought it. I didn't think it through. So I said it and I was like, wait, this isn't a cantrip, god damn it. Because in my head I was like, yeah, that's great, I'll just keep casting it. And I'm like, oh, this is a first level spell.
Yeah. I love the idea too of this little 10-foot area. You cast it, it's like purified, and then just slowly all of the surrounding sewage is just slowly starting to diffuse back into
I'm
the
just doing
area.
it in my Brita filter.
Like, wait, no.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I didn't entirely know what to expect from the way that we would interact. But I have been having a lot of fun as a player. I am always a little bit intimidated by how much all of you guys know about the lore.
That's fair. I feel like that's reasonable.
I think that's a real problem, like, or a real thing where when I've come into like existing campaigns before, like Claire, the one that you were running, like people would just talk about stuff and I'm like, I don't know who that person is. I don't know any of this. And it definitely is like a little alienating,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
It's tough.
it is.
Or it can feel like, oh, there's like a lot going on here. But like if you don't really have hooks into any of it, yeah, it can be rough.
So it's just been hard for me to try and decide whether, I mean, the easy thing to do would just be like, it doesn't know anything that's going on, empty brain, just cons. Yeah. But part of me also really wanted to be like politically shrewd, like I have my fingers in every pie. Like, and that's hard to do when you don't know anybody.
Gate.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate, I thought that felt like, I don't know. But yeah, sorry, I don't mean to, yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess, okay, good. I'm happy that came across, because the entire time I was like, I don't know what's happening. I want to portray this, but me, the player, does not know how to go about doing this.
You also have been good even here in Hell. Like, I mean, you caught me off guard when you suddenly dropped Maggie's name. I was like, oh shit. Like, that was a really cool instinct that Enyo had to do that. So, I mean, it's, even though you're saying that, like, yeah, you don't, and I believe it, and yeah, it's super intimidating coming into something and like a bunch of proper nouns are dropping and you're just like, what does this mean? But you've been, I think you've been good about coming across as savvy and being able to think on your feet and yeah, like spin things to your advantage.
We have another question for you, Enyo. Enyo, what was going through your head while negotiating with Gideon? It would have been a very stressful encounter for me, but Pip being blasé and erratic seemed to keep Gideon on the back foot. How did you do that?
Honestly, my brain just blanked and it was pure panic. I just... So, kind of going back to what you said earlier about you had anxieties about growing old and everything, I just came out of a graduate school program that gave me intense imposter syndrome. And I wanted to create a character who would just fuck up constantly and be completely competent while doing it. Who was like such a good imposter that it was their entire trademark. And the entire contract, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So take the wheel.
How does that work for you? Does Pip take over sometimes, or like does Pip inform your actions and words at all?
Yeah, there are a couple of things where I have a skeleton of like, okay, this is the sort of way I want to spin something or other. This is what I want to do. And then I have like a list of some of Pip's quirks, or the like turns of phrase that she would use and so on. And I feel like at this point I've been playing Pip for enough that when it comes to making, like making a deal or trying to talk her way out of something really stupid or doing something reckless, I can just that kind of comes almost autopilot now.
Mhm. Very cool. Yeah, you know Pip well enough that Pip can just kind of come.
Yeah, when under certain trigger circumstances, when it's like, oh, I've reached something new, uh, how do I engage with people that I'm going to see day after day instead of like one and done, goodbye, our business is done here.
Mm,
That's a lot harder. And
that makes sense. That seems like it would be harder for Pip too.
yeah, so I think it is kind of they inform each other. Um, This is a little bit of a non sequitur, but I really love how, oh my God, I almost said Gideon Lightward and Kadam. Everybody is Gideon.
Everyone's Gideon.
How Kadam has like the kind of really sensory, tactile things too. I don't know. I've noticed that that's a really good little character
You mean
quirk
this
that
thing?
Or like the bracelets in the mirrors.
I just mean like everything, all of the very tactile since descriptions and how like Kadam doesn't like certain textures,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. So after you dropped one of those, I was like, Pip's got to have a couple of these.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Kadam has some really good. You've had some really good moments of describing that and like helping it inform. I don't know, like at least from my perspective, like how Kadam operates in the world and how you, Claire, like physically react and move. And it's also, I hope this isn't mean, but it's given me ammo to know how to like, oh, this will make this scene even more intense if I just like add a little bit of this to Kadam, and like it makes it even like with the Vrock, with the demon, like I was like, oh, I can do all kinds of tactile things to Kadam to make this scene feel disconcerting and uncomfortable, and I knew that you would be able to lean into that to help convey that sense of like we're dealing with kind of an erratic, chaotic being that's unstable and dangerous.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, this is the demon
Oh, sorry.
that was wearing people's faces.
Yeah. I realized I just did the thing that we were just talking about, where I dropped a proper noun, not necessarily. Yeah, the demon that had the face and was calling Alfred. Yeah, their friend
Is a rock.
Yeah, a Vrock. It's like a winged vulture demon thing. Yeah.
But regarding Kadam and the sensory stuff, I think we've been playing a little bit, not much, but some. When I realized, oh, Kadam has autism. That's why the bracelets. That's why the systems thinking and deep compassion and the like highly structured moral system, and yeah, most of their sensory issues are tactile. They've got a couple of scent-based ones, but like sound doesn't bother them at all.
What about taste? Is that close enough to scent that it would trigger, or no?
Generally doesn't. Food has texture though.
Oh yeah.
And the mouth is very sensitive.
Oh yeah.
So I think that most of their food preferences are based off of how it feels in their mouth. Cottage cheese would not be great.
All right.
I feel like I should step up the game. What like sensory things does Calliope have? I feel like a lot of her things are more like, I don't know. She is flighty as a person.
She's an air genasi.
Yeah, exactly. And is like a little bit more like ADHD than autism, I think.
I mean,
I sometimes think that we're playing opposite characters. All of it.
What do you mean by that?
Kadam is very rooted, grounded, seeking interpersonal connection,
Yeah.
higher level change. Calliope is very quick and energetic and bounces from idea to idea, looking for intellectual fulfillment and like physical representations of success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What element is Pip then?
I was gonna say, so we have earth, air. I think Pip is definitely fire.
Yeah.
Pip is hellfire.
I mean, we've seen it.
I mean, I could see an argument being made for water because Pip just like flows and she's like, oh, I'm no longer needed here. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.
You can't hold
no.
on to Pip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that too. I think I need like an astrology person to be like, what's a fire water cusp? I don't know if that's a thing. Oh, I got a text and I thought it was somebody gonna be like, I'll tell you. Sorry. Yeah. But I also think that her modus operandi is burning bridges.
There you go, fire. I would like to ask a general question of. This is very broad, but do you all have a like favorite moment from this arc? Is there anything that pops up as like something that stood out, a highlight?
Can we just like do a quick run through of like what has this arc been?
Sure.
We hopped down with Lulu and Pip's girlfriend.
Yes. Was it Syndra?
Sylvira.
Oh no, I guess
Yeah, that's
Sylvira-
right. Sylvira.
Sylvira sent us
Yeah.
to Pip and to Lulu and Traxador,
Yes,
Right.
That's
The
right. That's how
otter.
we started.
The otter.
Yes. The otter.
which
we showed up, we found some refugees, we fought some devils, we went across the bridge after almost abandoning Lulu the first time.
Oh my god, that was so bad. That's a standout moment, but not for a good reason.
Then you made it to High Hall, bypassed some doggies, went onto a balcony, swaddled the devil, just killed.
Fought some centipede things.
Yeah, crabs.
Crabs.
Yeah. Killed all the devils below. Went through the.
Pip acid shotted that
The
invisible imp. The first imp.
Yes.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a good moment.
Went into the crypts, met the survivors, which were like down the hall, which was very funny.
One of my favorite moments in that little bit, actually, genuinely was finding the meeting notes from the meeting between Duke Ravengard and like the high-level Elturelians and the draft of the trade agreement. I love that.
Man, that was totally like something that this kind of alludes to a question I saw like in our doc, but it's like how much is homebrew, how much is in the module kind of thing, right? Like those details usually are never included in modules unless they're super highly specific to like some kind of plot point, and that's definitely something that I just like threw in there that has
Thank you.
had like has come up and had consequences. So that's always really satisfying when that type of stuff happens. It reminds me of, sorry, super sidetrack. I promise it'll be brief. It reminds me of when we played Monster Hearts and all of you mentioned like a golf club randomly, and then like towards one of the climaxes of that arc,
It was Chekhov's golf club.
You brought back the golf club, and it was amazing. So
it was a different player who brought back the golf club.
Oh, it was a different player, was it? Yeah.
All of you came up with it, yeah? Or did you bring
I think it was
back?
me. I remember feeling very self-satisfied for like closing the loop on that.
I thought it was Olive because, Anyways, point is, something improvised, and then it comes back to actually have weight and consequences, and that's always really satisfying. So yeah, you found the survivors. Then you went to find the survivors that had fled deeper into the crypt, where there was
fought a mummy.
Yeah, weird undead stuff happening. You met Glim, who was grave robbing. A mummy popped out.
Top moment.
Yeah.
Of Glim and Pip flirting? Question mark.
Yeah, flirting. Yeah. And then when you got all the survivors together, you were getting ready to go to the Grand Cemetery, and a shadow demon popped out of the fountain.
That was not okay.
Possessed Petra for a brief moment there, and Feria was able to get the shadow demon out, and then you went to the Grand Cemetery, met Gideon, fought some minotaurs briefly.
I really liked that Pip and Glim's flirtation was as intense and nerdy as it was and didn't go anywhere.
Because it got weird. Because it got weird after having that conversation with Kadam about like, hey, helping put all these corpses away is kind of like having sex, you know? I mean, I know.
Yeah, I loved that.
Oh, that's great.
Where that I understand what Kadam was saying, but that is the equivalence Pip had in her head.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, met up with Gideon and then went down below to get Ravengard. Fought some more Minotaurs.
Sorry, backing up for a second. Another excellent moment was that haunted pillar booking it.
I was going to mention that. That was my favorite.
I'm like, so dead. It's like, oh, you didn't realize that was there. Okay.
And then Kadam shouting after it, sorry. Oh, that I love that stuff when and it's like, you know, it's that I love that type of stuff where like whenever I design my own encounters, I try to have things like that could happen where it's like there's stuff in the world that it's not necessarily like that was kind of put there for the characters because it was an enemy that could pop out, but it had very specific like circumstances that would trigger it to pop out.
Oh, what were those?
I can't remember, but yeah, there was something you could have done with those statues that would have like given you like there was actually a bunch of stuff in that whole chapel that y'all just kind of bypassed that could have given you like bonuses and like magic weapons, but I know. Anyways, so it was something where it's like if you interacted with it, it would have like triggered it or something. But point is, I love it when there's something just like in the world that isn't obvious and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the characters. It's just part of the world, and then when something very natural like that happens, that just triggers it. It's like, as a DM, it's really satisfying to start pulling those like Rube Goldberg machine-esque of being like, oh, this happened, therefore that would happen, and then that would happen, and like going through that logic and then letting it all play out and then showing that to the players, and there's something really satisfying about that, just like making the world feel alive. So that was hilarious, and that was awesome. But yeah, you got Ravengard, had a tense situation with Gideon, agreed to go to the aviary, which was really cool because that was all homebrewed. All the aviary stuff was great, of going up to the companion. using the companion to conduct the ritual, the exorcism, fought the little aspects of Baphomet trying to stop you.
That was such a good combat. Like that
Really
was an
good.
all-time, like
Awesome.
well-designed, well-paced,
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
That was all
clear
homebrew.
objective.
Or there wasn't all homebrew. There was some taken from the module, but a lot of it was homebrew.
It felt like a Lancer sit rep.
Awesome. Yeah.
The highest praise.
And then Gideon left, and you found out about the Sword of Zariel. Gideon knows about it now. And you made a deal with the Zentarum to get the refugees. You went back to get the refugees. Pip made a deal with Gideon to get the sword in exchange for getting the nightmare off of y'all's back. And then you fought Victusa, and Lulu almost died. And then you saved the refugees after defeating Victusa and got them to the Zentarum. And now you're all getting ready to presumably head down to the wasteland and follow up on this lead that Lulu has, going to the fort that she saw off in the distance. So
I am so excited to be in the room with two Kenku, both of whom Nathan is running.
Oh god. Oh,
Wait,
no.
hold on. 2 Kenku. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I think Pip is gonna make it even worse.
Enyo and Olive, you know this. Enyo, chat. I DM'd a campaign for Nathan and Olive were in, where Nathan played a Kenku. That's where you met Olive. That's right. And I was a little hesitant about letting Nathan play a Kenku as a PC for a campaign. And I'm so glad I trusted you.
Well,
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited now.
Very deeply rewarding character, and very deeply rewarding simply to watch your sharp move through the world and communicate with other people.
It was challenging.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
So
was.
Kenku can only repeat things they've heard before. Is that it?
That's like the lore. What we had decided though, because the actual lore, it doesn't vibe with me. I don't particularly like it, so we kind of modified it. But it was like Kenku in rendition of it. Kenku just have their own language. They can speak to each other with like normally. And I don't remember exactly. I don't think we had necessarily fleshed out why they couldn't just speak common. I think it was just very vague, like they were cursed as a species. But...
Yeah, I know why they
you
were
do.
in that world, but
Cool.
it never came up.
Yeah.
So.
What is it? Do they just not have the vocal apparatus?
No, they do.
Like I'm really confused. I don't understand why that like Thrycreen can speak common. Like
Right.
Do they even have
Yeah,
mouths?
exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad you knew why, Claire. But in the actual lore, it's I don't know, it just didn't vibe with me because it's like something like they can't come up with new ideas, which just doesn't make any sense to me. Like it just didn't. There was some sort of like dissonance there that just wasn't meshing with me. Where I was like,
Wow, is like 5e race lore racist? Weird.
But yeah, it was fun.
That's not even true about crows.
I know.
Yeah.
It basically didn't. If you just go read the lore or don't, but if you do read the lore, it didn't make sense. So we changed it.
Yeah, there's no scope for adventure. There's no ability, like there's no well, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I would never choose to play a Kenku following official lore because my character would not be able to grow. They would not be able to learn.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, it feels weird. But thank you, Claire. I'm glad you enjoyed Sharp.
I'm sorry, why are we talking about Kenkus?
There's two
Because-
Kenku. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's 2 Kenku at Fort Knucklebone.
which is
Oh.
where
Where
Lulu had a memory. Her like last vivid memory she got back was being at Fort Knucklebone with these two Kenku.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Right.
Chukka and Chonk or Clonk. I think it's like Chukka and Clonk. Yeah.
Almost done with this notebook. Chukka and Clunk. Yep.
So yeah, was there a standout moment for any of you? We went through the whole recap.
I think for me, the companion and aviary fight was the thing for me. Like, it had the kind of like, Nathan, I feel like with every one of my characters, I force you to like integrate a new aspect of like magic and metaphysics and like soul stuff. Just like for every single one.
No, it's great.
And so like you were down to be like, okay, let's do some like companion, I don't know, like weird magic gem, like Squire crystal stuff. And then like it was just like a good fight. I feel like everyone was like effective.
It was a really good fight.
We had the Gideon blue steel stare.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That was so
oh
silly.
yeah, his withering gaze. Oh, it was so good.
It's like one of those things, like playing it, like it didn't register how silly it was. It's like, oh yeah, he has this ability, Withering Gaze. He can look at a creature and causes necrotic damage, and it's like whatever, some kind of, evil magic or whatever, And then yeah, it's like as soon as you pointed that out, it was like, oh my god, he totally is just walking around. Just like
he walks down a runway and people take necrotic damage.
just wither and like it's like he walks down and you hear a bunch of gasps and you realize it's like everybody's souls leaving their body, and as we look over the crowd, it's just a bunch of like desiccated like
You killed it out there, Gideon. Killed it.
I love the idea of him losing all his clerical powers and Zariel being like, no, dude, it's okay. I've got the thing for you.
That's for you. I know, it's so silly. He does, it never came up, but he also has, what I can only imagine is they gave him, like, levels in Monk, because he's really good at unarmed strike. Like, he has like unarmed strike and can do it was at least 2 attacks. It may have been 3 attacks, but yeah. So
Okay.
it just never came up. So yeah. He just looked
Hey,
at everyone.
I mean, honestly, I feel like if he'd done some monk things too, that it still would have felt like a performance. It's been like, oh my god, that's so cool. He's like contact juggling and a moment
doing like capoeira, what is it, capoeira? Like
yeah, he would be. I really liked. I think we were crossing on our way to meet Gideon in the cemetery. This was before the Screaming Pillar.
Yeah.
Fight. The tension in that scene where everybody's crossing and it starts out with like just a little bit of problem solving, no big deal, but then knowing that the spine devils were circling while Valor was there and the rope was breaking and everything was just like
the gap, like where you had to cross the gap. Yeah. Oh man, that's a good pull. That was another awesome moment of that was just a random encounter kind of thing. I wanted to throw some tension in there, so I think I just rolled secretly. I just rolled a d20 and be like, let's see if something shows up, and then something showed up, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is actually perfect, just to make this feel like something, and not just like there's a gap. Okay, we all float across. like yeah. Awesome.
Between devils seeing through magical darkness them being immune to fire damage, and Valor not having a magical weapon. How's she feeling right now?
How's Valor feeling?
Yeah. Like, yeah, she found her friend. How's Valor doing? How's this situation for her?
I mean, right now, I think Valor's feeling great because she's moving and going towards an objective and working with a team of people that or at least one person she knows. So she's feeling way better. I think before that, she was like... She was probably scheming how could she get... She was probably thinking through, like, how could she get in front of a high-ranking devil and find out what it takes to get back. I think she may have been getting to that point of starting to scheme on, like, leaving all those people behind and just getting out, like, figuring out if she could get out. I think she was things were looking incredibly bleak before you showed up. It was like they had just been overrun. They were all down in the crypt where there was like weird shit happening down there. She was probably doing the math in her head and was like, there's no way that there's enough food here to last us that long. Who the fuck is gonna come for us? Like, we were literally at the point of power. I think she was probably getting ready to slip out and head off on her own and try to get herself in front of a high-ranking devil to start dealing. Because I don't think she had finished the job that she had originally set out to do, if I remember.
That's something that I want to ask her, certainly. Is like, was she able to fulfill her original contract?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Because she had gotten a lead to go back there, and then it had kind of gone stale, and then was just to keep getting paid. She started working with the Elturelians, I guess the Hellriders, to fend off the Knoll incursion, and then was basically on short leave in the city when it got dragged down. So she doesn't know this, but she's not she's literally just a victim of circumstance. Like, she wasn't part of the Elturelian deal that was made with Thavius Krieg. So theoretically,
but she signed the thing, yeah?
She what?
She signed the book, the Krieg Resolute.
Did she say she signed it? I suppose if she had...
I think so.
Yeah, I suppose if she... Oh, I think she... Yeah, that's right. Because... Oh, you're right. Yeah, I think I remember that. Because in order to work with the Hellriders, I think she had to sign it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Anyways, yeah, I think right now she's just feeling really... She's feeling way better now that she has an objective and is, working with all of you. And, even though it's a very slim hope of... I think the fact that you showed up and you got here gives her hope of, okay, well, they got here. Maybe there's a way out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I really appreciate about how you tend to DM, Nathan, is that you give us as PCs moments of rest and hope and recuperation. For both Calliope and Kidam, getting to the crypts was a time of joy and reconnection with people we loved. And that was very much needed, and yeah, I feel like this is something I've seen you do pretty consistently, is find moments of rest and connection to help us continue onward. It's nice to have carrots instead of just sticks.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, even though it's a game and we're, you know, I know as a player I have a blast when we're doing combat and in life and death situations, and when things get really dire, I'm still having fun. But if that's all you're doing, it eventually you start to feel it, and you're just kind of like, okay, like,
we gotta have time for like scams as well.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's. He's talking about highlights. It's not quite this arc. It was technically the last arc, but like, it was a moment of rest that I was having a blast with, and especially having a blast with because it's like, oh, I'm playing this character who has access to really high level magic. But the date with Pip and Silvira was just super fun, and was, yeah, it was such a nice palate cleanser from everything, and to just, it's funny because it was like, yeah, it's a date, so it's like very loose and free and kind of like not terribly serious, but that also for some reason made me feel comfortable with being able to also kind of like be a little more loose with just like letting things kind of go in directions that I wasn't necessarily expecting, or just like allowing things to sort of like locations to sort of just like blossom and grow in front of us as we went along, like, you know, like that
was very, very cool.
None of that was planned, right? And like none of it was planned. It was literally just like even going to Halrua, like that was just, I don't know why that popped into my head, but it just like for some reason that popped into my head. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a cool place that Silvira would know about and would want to take somebody. So yeah, those are really fun.
I do love how many spell slots she dropped for this gate.
I know.
It's like, oh my.
Yeah, because teleport, I think, is like a 7th level spell or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she like dropped a 7th level spell and then like cast fly, and then
there's a dimension door in there somewhere.
Yeah, like it was like there were so many things. And yes, so Silio, high stakes life and death must be balanced with shenaniganery.
Another shenaniganery. I was just going through my notes for other good moments. The like puppet play that we put on in the Tomb of the Unknown Hero sort of situation.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my god.
Where we had like that whole performance to get that magic weapon, and then didn't end up with the magic weapon in Valor's hands. And like Pip wanting to like magic mouth the hero, have her say whatever we wanted. It was very funny. I think, Pip, you've really come into your own with this magic mouth spell, between like that and the like rope alarm thing, which is a good idea if you had a longer rope.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing with Gideon, oh my god. Talk about like,
you were the one who
chaos.
came up with the magic mouth thing when we were going after Duke Vanthumper and trying to turn the brothers against each other. Olive, I remember you were the one who was like, oh, you should just say, this speaks for itself. And then I never got to say it.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I thank you. It was a very good suggestion.
I want to go back to the Vantham I want to kill Duke Vantham.
Oh yeah,
She's the last
absolutely.
one.
Uh-oh.
I mean, the city might have taken care of it. Yeah, angry citizens, maybe.
Hopefully.
Would Nathan be like, okay, you're y'all are back? Don't worry about it. Everything's handled.
Yeah, everything's gonna be fine.
She's been replaced by something worse. Cortea turned her into a vampire.
Oh, I have.
Duke Vantham as a thrall? Ooh, she would not like that.
Oh, that's so good.
Sorry,
Anyways,
should I not have said that out loud?
I have vague ideas that are still developing and changing as we speak. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be that easy. You're not gonna show up and be like, oh look, it's now a utopia. The citizens have taken over.
No.
Yeah.
There's not even gonna be like a Baldur's Gate commune or something.
Yeah. But also, like, even realistically though, like something like this shouldn't necessarily go super fast. I don't think. I would think it would be something that would
need to
like
take
months
years.
or years. Yeah. Like, sure, there might be this initial outburst when you all left that was probably very dramatic and very violent, but that was probably quelled pretty fast, considering the Flaming Fist have been enabled to start using things like necromancy magic. Like, so, yeah. Like, I mean, like one of those, you encountered a Flame Skull. A Flame Skull can just cast Fireball. And imagine that on a crowd.
We know, Nathan.
Yeah, imagine that on a crowd of commoners, on common people. Like that. Like, talk about.
There's no point in making a dex save.
Yeah, it's like horrible crowd. Like, yeah. So, yeah. But all that being said, like, yeah, you definitely started something that is going to be going for a while. So, yeah. Oh man.
Nathan, I love this question. How does the soul metaphysics and economy of the published setting mesh with Soul Mycorrhizae that was set up for Lovelace?
Oh my god. I've taken parts of it from the published setting and then just completely manipulated and bastardized it into something different. But yeah, I mean, so I guess the metaphysics and economy of souls in the published setting, there's it is very much I don't know, would this be like, I don't know as much about religion, and I know Clary will be able to help me out here, but my vague understanding of most religions, right, it's like the way you live your life kind of determines, or maybe that's a very Western Christian thing, but like,
that really depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
This style of the afterlife, right, is very much the kind of, it seems to be the more Christian style of like the way you live your life determines kind of where your soul goes, right? Like that is the idea.
To be fair, that is like specific sects of Christianity.
Got it. Regardless, that's kind of the published setting is like, depending on who you worship and what you do in your life is kind of where your soul goes. And then if you don't, there's like a weird purgatory thing, and then your soul gets sorted from there. But I kind of kept...
Is there like a soul post office or something? Like who works in the sorting room?
It's odd. And again, this is one of those things where there's like so much literature, there's a lot of writing on it, and a lot of like contradictory writing too, because things always change in the editions, so it's always very convoluted and kind of hard to follow. But I took all that, which is in the published setting, I kind of more or less kept that the same. But the thing that I don't really want to say, because it'll be spoilery, is there's stuff built on top of that I took from you, Olive, and what we established with Lovelace. And so I essentially kind of kept what's there in the published setting, but that is built on top of this layer underneath that was the stuff we came up with, and then I built more off of that. And
Do you have any hints for us how it might affect the campaign?
So like we've already hinted at the fact that there's these trees that sprout out throughout the planet, and it seems that the guardian you met seemed to allude to that there used to be more of them, or at least more of them that they could connect with, like that they were aware of.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much they said, but they alluded to the fact that those things started to like disappear. And these trees are nexuses where souls are kind of channeled through into the trees and then sent off somewhere, and then those souls are kind of recycled back into the system, very reincarnation-esque, like they are recycled back into the system and then reborn as something else, right? And I'm pretty certain that was more or less what we kind of gathered from your arc as Lovelace. So how the gods and the devils and the demons and all the other extraplanar beings, how they interact with that is the stuff you all don't really know yet. And that's the thing where I kind of have been... And again, it's not... I think it's fleshed out enough that I can run with it, but I have an idea of how it all works, of like how those extraplanar beings interact with that cycle. And how...
At what point do soul coins get minted? Great.
But...
We'll have to ask Dr. Gilder, too. Dr. Gildest.
Yeah. Yeah, does that answer the question? I guess, yeah. So I'm keeping most of the established stuff, and then I built something kind of under it, like another layer to it. And basically just looked at the established system and then just kind of went, well, how would they interact with this new system that's been put into place? And yeah, so. And yeah, I have ideas of like how souls now work in our world and how what happens to people when they die. So yeah.
So these trees, they're are none of them are in hell. They're all on the material plane, or is where they? Okay, interesting. That is.
As far as Lovelace knows, which is the only one who's really in. Oh, I guess Kadam slightly, but Kadam doesn't know as much as Lovelace. So it's really weird because it's like Lovelace has a lot of this knowledge, and none of the characters we're with right now have any of this knowledge. But as far as Lovelace knows, those trees are exclusive to Toril. Toril being the planet that you all come from. Those trees are exclusive to Toril, as far as Lovelace knows. Yeah.
I'm so excited to meet Lovelace again sometime.
Oh my god.
Someday.
Oh, I should look at the calendar. By the way, yeah, Kadam, I don't know if your birthday's actually come up yet. Hold on. Let me look at the calendar.
Am I still 47?
I think so. I'll pull it up. But yeah. Are there any other questions?
I'm so glad that y'all keep track of the calendar, because I do not.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I don't know how frequently it's come up in our game. I think it's come up a couple times, but like I just like doing it for myself because it makes the world feel really real to me.
I mean, there are holidays that we've intersected with a couple of times. It's very nice. I like it.
It is the 3rd of Eliant, so it's not quite Kadam's birthday.
Okay.
It's the 3rd of Eliant up on the material plane.
Yeah.
How much time has passed since our first episode?
Oh my god.
We started in the equivalent. We started in Kythorn, which is
June-ish, right?
I thought it was late.
Or no,
March?
wait. Did I mess up? Did you start in? Did you start in Myrtle?
Myrtle?
Has it just been like a really exciting year for Kadam? Have we been playing for more than a year?
No.
No. It's been like maybe 6 months.
I remember that it was a few days before green grass that we started.
It was a few days
How's
before
that going up
Greengrass.
fast?
Whoa. Okay, wait. So did we start in? Oh my God. So we started in Tarsak, which is
April. Yeah.
I think Tarsak is March, and then Myrtle is April. Regardless, yeah, I think you started in March. So it's been, and you're now in Eliant is
September.
So that's including from like the very beginning, including Lovelace and everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, how long have we as a group?
You as a group have really only been doing this for like
a week.
2 weeks,
like
a week?
yeah, like a month, like less. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like, well, actually, no, yeah, because from your perspective, because you went down to Avernus, so now time is all weird. Yeah, it's been probably a week.
But it's like one of those weeks where you go to sleepaway camp and you make friends like immediately because
for
you don't have a
sure.
choice.
For sure, yeah. Oh God.
D&D time is weird.
Oh yeah.
The fact that you like track every single sleep is always like, I don't know, seemed weird to me pacing wise. I want more time jumps.
Yeah, I mean, it gets weird, right? When you're doing like a dungeon crawl, for example, there's like time jumps become few and far between.
Yeah.
We probably have room for like one more question, maybe two. Do y'all have any questions that are burning that you want answered?
What was Cortea and Kadam's relationship as children? How has that changed?
That's a good one.
Kadam was a weird kid. Like, just bizarre. And with both of their parents working so much, particularly Biro, Cortea essentially became a third parent, partially out of what felt like necessity, and partially she was into that. She was very protective of Kadam, would very much fight their fights for them, and would also get them into trouble and then get them out again.
Do you think it's because of Cortea's protection at us growing up that Kadam is so trusting of people, or wants to be so trusting of people?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I think in their like early to mid 20s, Kadam decided that it was better to trust people than to not. Because if you extended trust and kindness and the expectation of both respect and the expectation of receiving respect, you were a lot more likely to get it. And I think they went through and like did experiments on how they would interact with people and see what they would get back.
They have like a spreadsheet.
If spreadsheets existed, they would absolutely have had a spreadsheet in their early 20s about this. But as Cortea started moving more and more away from their parents, getting deeper into the guild, Kadam became the one who was responsible for holding the family together. And they've been doing that since. Like, they're the one that has stayed in contact with Cortea. They're the one who deflected and redirected and like paid attention to the reflected and redirected a lot of arguments between family members, who made sure that their parents were getting everything that they needed in terms of like emotional support from their kids. Did their best to take care of the unit as a whole. And received praise for that. Like, I think that was work that Jasper saw and appreciated and communicated that to Kadam. That Cortea saw and sometimes appreciated and sometimes didn't, and like,
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated.
I have a question for you too, Olive, which is kind of, you can answer it or not, but what was Calliope's first day as a Hellrider like?
Oh, jeez.
Did she just jump into it immediately, or was like, I'm new here, I'm sorry?
So she came on kind of like a research visa thing with Glim, where Glim was like, hey, cool things are happening. I'm making like some deals. I'm basically doing like a startup in Elturel. And so I think Glim kind of like paved the road and was like, okay, you got like your lab set up over here. So I think it was kind of like instead of like coming up through the ranks, she was just like put into like a weird officer researcher position.
Mm-hmm.
And so like she had to do some kind of like HR orientation, which I think we actually alluded to in the campaign a couple times. Like when we were crossing the bridge, I may have rolled a nat 20, I think.
I think you got really high, yeah.
On like remembering like, what the code phrase was for activating the thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like my understanding, all of it's like, it was like a defense contract almost, like the two of you were brought in not as soldiers necessarily, but then proved this new technology, and then were very, very quickly brought in like officially and like promoted.
So I think it was like lots of like meetings and like going to like the book signing. It's just like more like I'm never gonna think about this day again in my life. It's just bureaucratic nonsense.
But you remembered the training video.
I mean, it's like one of those like primacy recency things. Like I remember like the first thing I worked on in my day job. I don't remember anything in the intervening like 4 years. And I remember like, the last week. Maybe. On a good day.
Yeah.
So I think it was lucky that it just happened to be like on one of those like scenic tours of like, yes, this is our fair city. I think it'd be interesting if like she really didn't like it. She's like, this thing is too bright. Like
the companion?
Yeah, the companion.
That was one of the questions I was
noisy.
wondering, like how Calliope feels about the companion now, and like, yeah. If there was...
I think so. The thing that I'm drawing on is from my like work in laboratories, on like my research subjects, where you like. I mean, it's different for me because like I was working with animals, and there was like the whole thing like tied up in like sacrificing animals for research.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the companion is like, oh god, this weird phenomena. How you feeling today? You moody? Is it windy? Are you gonna like knock down our balloons as we're like going up? But yeah, I think like, I mean, Calliope went to college and stuff out in Lambtam. um, and like with the gnomes. So it was also her first time in a non like gnome dominated society, I think, or like with a high proportion of gnomes. So that, like everything was like too tall, not really made for her. Um, though it was like nice to get to like a big city and like just have a complete blank slate. Um, and I've talked about this with y'all a little bit, but I think one of the reasons that Calliope performs her age so much is the fact that she's an air genasi. Air genasi live shorter lives than gnomes. And so her age back on Lambtam would have been seen as like a health problem or like a deficiency or like something to like pity her about. But like without that cultural context really prevalent in Elturel, she just gets to be like old and it's fine.
Yeah.
And she kind of like revels in it. So I think disoriented, annoyed at the sun and tall things, deeply, deeply like just lack of patience about like all the bureaucratic stuff that she had to go through as part of this like defense contract. But also it's kind of like exciting where it's like, I got my lab in big city. This is where I'm gonna like make my mark on the world. I'm gonna make things better. Glim says that we're working for a good cause.
Did Glim grave rob too while you knew him? Or is that just a new development?
I don't know if that would have been something that would have happened.
I think so.
He
more
kept
and
it
more
on the
like
down low.
we've like come up against like Calliope's time in like college a lot, where like she had like this like weird infernal language Latin studies sort of situation, and I think like they might have had like some kind of like semi-cultish club.
Oh no.
They were
like
in
some
a
after
frat.
hours
Is
thing.
that what you're saying?
What was that?
But they were like in a Dionysian frat.
Yeah, kinda. And I think they may have like grave robbed at least once
Oh my god.
as like a big group to be like,
During
we
Rush.
indoctrinate everyone in here. And Glim might have, I could see Glim having led that.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Oh my god.
Well, we're at time. I do want to quickly say, I just want to answer this one question about somebody, one of y'all posted in our doc about Nathan. What are some NPCs that y'all have latched onto that I was not expecting? As a closing note, I was not expecting y'all to be so enamored with Lulu. That was such a character that I was like, oh, I feel like they're really gonna be annoyed with this character, and I'm gonna have to try really, really hard to figure out how to not make this character super annoying. And I was just very shocked when y'all were immediately like falling in love with Lulu, and I was like, oh, okay.
She's a tiny flying golden elephant. She's so cute. I mean, we have to protect her.
I also am really enjoying starting to lean more and more into the like juxtaposition of how like sweet and innocent she is, and then finding moments to make her really sinister. So
Deeply bloodthirsty.
yeah. So,
I think that was like one of the thing where like the dice just told the story of she got like 2 or 3 crits.
yeah,
That
it's like
first
a
fight?
bunch of crits. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that's been a pleasure to get to experience Lulu develop into
She's
something very
So funny, Nathan. Whenever she's like telling her
I know.
melodramatic aspects in like her high pitched voice, it's so funny.
And that's when I saw all my friends dead in the mud. I can still hear the ringing in my ears. Anyways, so thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We're gonna take a break next week. I need a little breather. There's a lot of things happening outside of the stream. I just need a little break. So we're gonna take a break next week. Although, I mean, of course, Claire and Enyo, if y'all want to do something, please, by all means. I will be taking a break. Olive, you're going to be out for the next 3 weeks, right? Or something like that? Yeah. I don't know. It's about 3 or 4 weeks. And then, yeah, we're going to be returning the following week. And we still haven't decided exactly what we're doing. We might be playing Baldur's Gate. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I just need to talk with both Claire and Enyo to kind of figure out what we're going to do in the little brief interim while Olive is out. And then we're going to jump right back into Avernus, and I'm excited for the next part.
What's the date of the next actual...
Like Avernus adventure?
Yeah, Avernus adventure.
Oh yeah, it's when you... It's like that week after you get back or something.
September 27th.
27th, yeah. So we'll be returning to Avernus on September 27th, and we'll be taking...
I can actually make it on the 20th if we wanted to. My stuff got switched around. I could do the 20th.
Okay, so we might be returning on the 20th.
I can't.
You can't?
Oh,
okay.
Great, 27th it is then.
27th. So we're returning on the 27th to Avernus. I'm really excited for the next part, so I hope y'all come back to join us. I also hope y'all come back to join us for whatever we do in this little brief break. We might be playing Baldur's Gate 3, which I think would be a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
They talk about Elturel and stuff in it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I also just really want to play that game because I haven't had a chance to, so it's kind of like a good excuse for me to just play the game. So yeah, out next week. We'll be back on the 13th. Oh, and then Claire, you're out on the 20th, so we're going to figure this out off stream. We'll see you all later. Have a lovely evening. Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.